Part 127. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1261. Chapter 1261 Etiquette Model. Jin Linger on the side covered her mouth and smiled. I haven't seen anyone roll over yet. These ladies will help me gain some knowledge. You, Jin Ying and others were so angry that they didn't expect them to be so sharp-tongued. It was strange that women like this who rely on selling to make a living should be groveling when they see a serious lady with a lot of money. I feel that I am a head shorter than a rich and famous lady, so I lose first in terms of momentum. Why are these two little in front of me so confident? Xia Yingluo played with the orchid carelessly, looking at them leisurely. Du Jingjing's sharp eyes saw clearly the orchid in her hand. What you are holding is my first-grade pearl. Where did you get it? How could you break such a precious flower if you are so shameless? The first-grade pearl in her family was a fine orchid. It took a lot of effort to find famous craftsmen to cultivate it successfully. The whole family was proud of it. If it was broken like this, it was definitely a big disaster. Xia Yingluo looked at the flower in her hand, so it's called Yupanziyu. Just by looking at the appearance, she knew that the orchid was valuable, but she didn't take it to heart. After all, it was broken off by the Du family and given to Master Yamaguchi Masaka. It was already broken, so why should she be so nervous about it? Du Jingjing seemed to have caught her. You just break my flowers casually. Do you have any education? You're done. Go quickly. Call Brother Li Rui to see how this matter is handled. So you can't even afford to pay for these expensive flowers. Who do you want to sell? Suddenly, a voice came from not far away. Everyone turned around and saw that among the flowers and trees, the door of the quiet hall opened at some point. Li Lei, Xiaoling, and several guests came out surrounded by an old man wearing gabu clothes, who was watching them quietly. Uncle Li, Master Yamaguchi. Du Jingjing saw them and called them one by one. Then she pointed at Xia Yingluo and said, you guys came just in time. This wild girl got in somehow and broke my most beautiful flower. I'm asking her to pay for the precious orchids. A look of surprise flashed in the eyes of several elders. The old man in gabu clothes in the middle smiled slightly and looked at Xia Yingluo. I asked why the orchids disappeared. Sure enough, there was a thief. Xia Yingluo also chuckled. Just when she was about to say something, Master Yamaguchi had already made a silent gesture to her. It seems that you don't get along very well over there. Xiaoling, who was standing next to Li Lei, also spoke, looking at the ladies. You all think that Xia Yingluo stole the orchid and wanted to find her. Settlement. Yes, Mrsli Gu Jingxiu said, not wanting to miss this opportunity to express herself. Jingjing and the others were just chatting on the lawn when I saw Xia Yingluo and the others sneaking over. I recognized her as Emperor. A poor student in the imperial training camp was afraid that she would not understand the rules and offend the elders, so she came to see it with Jingjing and Jin Ying. Sure enough, they found that she had stolen such a precious orchid. Xiaoling raised her eyes and glanced at her daughter who was not far away. She said, little girl, your popularity is really bad. Xia Yingluo shrugged innocently, she didn't mean it. Xiaoling's eyes flashed, and she asked Gu Jingxiu with a smile, what's your name? Gu Jingxiu was flattered and said quickly and respectfully, my name is Gu Jingxiu. I am the daughter of the Gu family. I have met Mrsli. Xiaoling nodded slightly, it turns out to be the Gu family. I remember that I was very familiar with your family. Gu Jingxiu was overjoyed and thought there was something exciting, so she kept up her efforts. Isn't it true? I heard that when my grandfather was alive, he admired you very much and wanted the younger generations in the family to learn from you. It's a pity that I was born a few years later, so I saw with my own eyes how beautiful you were when you were young. You mean I'm old? Xiaoling smiled half-heartedly. No. That's not what I meant. Gu Jingxiu became nervous and wanted to bite back what she just said. She forced a smile and said, "Mrs. Li, you are so beautiful, how can you be old? You are more beautiful than us juniors." Xiaoling's smile brightened again, and she praised her. "She can speak." She raised her head and said to Li Lei, "Look at her daughter, she is so beautiful. What about our stupid girl? She gets bullied every time she goes out. She still wants us to worry about her." Xia Yingluo was not happy being there. "Mom, you are obviously just criticizing Sanghui. How could I be so bad?" Li Lei glanced at his aggrieved daughter without any trace, and suppressed a smile, who said it wasn't the case. Why did she give birth to a stupid girl? Xia Yingluo felt even more aggrieved. She silently picked up the orchid in her hand and drew circles. Gu Jingxiu continued to joke, "That's because Uncle Li and Aunt Li have too high demands on their daughters." In just a few words, she had already been called Mrs. Li. From Mrs. Li to Uncle, "I heard that Jennifer is talented and beautiful. Not only is she beautiful, but she is also extremely smart and smarter than any of us. I really want to meet her and make friends with her." Xiaoling couldn't help but laugh. Gu Jingxiu just thought she was happy and laughed with her. Over there, Xia Yingluo also laughed, and Jin Linger even fell down laughing, giving a thumbs up. "Miss Gu, you are really discerning, I admire you." Gu Jingxiu frowned slightly. Why is this wild girl so presumptuous? She glanced at Du Jingjing beside her. Du Jingjing was also an eyesore and scolded Jin Linger and Xia Yingluo, "Why don't you two get out of here?" Oh, Xia Yingluo responded honestly this time, pulled up the golden bell and left. "Wait a minute," Master Yamaguchi called out to her, "Little girl, you're just leaving, leave the orchid behind." "Yes, keep the orchid." Du Jingjing thought of something. "This orchid is for distinguished guests like Master Yamaguchi. Who do you think you are?" Xia Yingluo just put the orchid aside and started to leave again. "Come back." Master Yamaguchi couldn't help it and glared at her. "Will you just leave when I tell you to? Since when have you been so obedient?" Xia Yingluo's face was full of dissatisfaction. "You all dislike me and say I'm stupid." She glanced at her parents aggrievedly, then pointed at Du Jingjing. "She even told me to get out. Why should I stay here? I'm going back to the training camp and ignoring you." Before Gu Jingxiu could react, she wanted to show off in front of the Li family couple and yelled, "Why are you talking to the elders? Are there any tutors left? Poor students are poor students and don't understand any rules. What a pity. Miss Jennifer is not here, otherwise I would like to show you what a model of etiquette should be for a girl's family." Xia Yingluo stared at her dumbfounded. It turns out that Gu Jingxiu didn't even need to draft a draft when he was bragging. After a long while, Xia Yingluo found her voice, "Thank you for praising me so much. I didn't know I was so good." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1262. Chapter 1262 Identity Revealed. Gu Jingxiu felt something was wrong. "Did you misunderstand something?" Xia Yingluo, "I didn't praise you." Du Jingjing and Jin Ying on the side also said disdainfully, "Can you show off some face? Can't you tell that Jingxiu is scolding you for not having a tutor?" Xia Yingluo felt extremely aggrieved and turned to look at Xiaoling. "Mom, they scolded me for not having a tutor." "Mom! Mom!" For a moment, several celebrities were shocked. What was Xia Yingluo calling just now? Looking at the ghosted expressions on each of their faces, Xiaoling spoke lukewarmly, "Who just scolded my daughter for not having a tutor?" As soon as these words came out, several ladies suspected that they were hearing things. What, did Xiaoling just say my daughter? In other words, the Xia Yingluo in front of them, who had been ridiculed by them for a long time, was actually the daughter of Xiaoling and Li Lei. How is this possible? Gu Jingxiu's face turned slightly pale and she looked at Xiaoling in disbelief. Uncle, what did you just say? Isn't your daughter Miss Jennifer? How come she became Xia Yingluo again? Xiaoling looked at her disdainfully. I can't afford to be your aunt. Please call me Mrs. Li from now on. Is it weird that Yingluo is my daughter? Jennifer is her English name, and her father and I are both Chinese. Don't you think she doesn't have a Chinese name? Ha ha ha. Jin Linger couldn't help laughing and scolded Gu Jingxiu in a low voice, retarded. Gu Jingxiu's face turned blue and white, it was so exciting. She was horrified to find that she had offended someone she must not offend. It is said that Li Lei and his wife had held this daughter in their hands as a treasure since they were young, and they would even wish for the stars in the sky. Take it off for her. Anyone who dares to touch her will be in trouble with the entire Li family and the Xia family, such a little princess who is so precious that she is so offended by him. Her body was shaky, and she suspected that she was dreaming. Her eyes flicked back and forth between Xia Yingluo, Xiaoling, and Li Lei, unable to believe that this was true. I really don't blame her. Xia Yingluo's appearance is not very similar to that of Li Lei and his wife. If you don't look carefully, it is difficult to tell the blood relationship between them. In addition, Xia Yingluo's status as a poor student, who can be the second? I immediately thought of it. Aren't you a poor student of the emperor? Gu Jingxiu asked weakly. Xia Yingluo smiled miserably. Yes, I am a poor student. Miss Gu wanted to curry favor with our family, so why didn't she check our family's traditions in advance? Every child must undergo training. During the training, they remain anonymous. How normal is that? How normal? Just be a normal ghost, okay. Gu Jingxiu just wanted to curse. Who is as weird as the Li family and still has experience? She had heard that the Li family had rules about experience, but she had never encountered such a thing in person, so how could she immediately think of it? Gu Jingxiu was about to cry now. She had just been flattering Xiaoling for so long in front of Xia Yingluo, and she had also flattered Miss Jennifer who she had never met before. Who knew that Miss Jennifer had been standing there for so long? In front of her was Xia Yingluo, whom she looked down upon and trampled on. When she thought of how she had just looked so servile in Xia Yingluo's eyes, Gu Jingxiu wanted to dig a hole in the ground and crawl down. The other two celebrities were also stunned and looked at Xia Yingluo in disbelief. Are you really Jennifer? Xia Yingluo didn't bother to pay attention to them. Xiaoling waved to her, come here. Xia Yingluo ran to her mother with a smile on her face, took her arm and said coquettishly, Mom. Xiaoling trimmed her long hair lovingly. Why did you offend so many people when you first came here? Your second brother can't cause trouble even for you. They scolded me for not having a good tutor. I just stole a flower from Grandpa Yamaguchi. What's the big deal? Grandpa Yamaguchi didn't even have time to worry about it, they were on the line. Speaking, he smiled flatteringly at Master Yamaguchi standing aside. Master Yamaguchi also looked at her fondly. I knew it was you, a little thief, who stole the flowers. She was the only person in the world who dared to steal his flowers. I still remember the first time he visited the Li family headquarters as a guest. Li Lei cut a large bunch of famous flowers with different postures as gifts. The two of them were chatting in the tatami flower hall. Suddenly, Master Yamaguchi felt something move beside him. He lowered his head. Saw a pretty little girl struggling to hold a large bouquet of flowers presented to him, and was about to sneak away. When she saw him looking over, she smiled innocently. From then on, he formed a lifelong friendship with this little flower thief. Just now in the quiet hall, when the waiter said, the flowers were robbed by a beautiful lady, Master Yamaguchi knew it was her. With joy, I got up and went out to greet this little friend. Unexpectedly, I saw this commotion at the door. So, when Xia Yingluo wanted to call him Grandpa Yamaguchi, he secretly stopped her. This group of so-called socialites who don't know the heights of heaven and earth should be taught a lesson. How dare they bully his little friends in the future? Master Yamaguchi turned to look at Gu Jinxiu, the look of kindness on his face disappeared and replaced with solemnity. You said Yingluo doesn't have a tutor? I think you don't know the difference between good and evil, you don't know pearls and jade, and you still speak lies. You are the one who really has no tutor. The tutor? Is the Gu family so incapable of educating their daughter? Gu Jinxia was embarrassed and ashamed, but the other person was Master Yamaguchi, and she was someone she couldn't afford to quarrel with. She could only swallow her anger and said, Master taught me that I was blind and didn't know that Sister Yingluo was Jennifer. Yingluo, I'm really sorry. I was also worried that people who shouldn't have barged in at the party would spoil the interest of Uncle Li and Aunt Li, that's why. This apology brought shame to the Gu family. However, Xiaoling interrupted her rudely, I told you, you have no right to call me aunt. Gu Jingxiu's face turned even paler, and she mumbled. It took her a long time to adjust her emotions, and her voice was as low as a mosquito, I'm sorry. Xia Yingluo was impatient to hear her apology and waved her hand, okay, okay. Really, I don't know why Uncle Du let you into the banquet. It's really disappointing. Then she turned to look at Du Jingjing and Jin Ying. You two are so stupid. Just believe whatever Gu Jingxiu says. She said that I was a peripheral girl who was brought in secretly by my second brother. Do you believe it? Is my second brother the kind of ignorant person? Du Jingjing and Jin Ying were silenced by the training, but they cried silently in their hearts, isn't your second brother the kind of ignorant person? If it were someone like Du Zhang, they wouldn't believe it no matter what Gu Jingxiu said. Du Jingjing smiled sweetly, Jennifer, no, Yingluo, I'm sorry. Since she has a Chinese name, of course it would be more affectionate to call her by her Chinese name. Jin Ying bit her lip and refused to apologize. The scene of Du Zheng talking to the two girls just now was still lingering in her mind, which set off alarm bells in her heart. What is their relationship with Du Zheng? Is it really as simple as just siblings? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1263. Chapter 1263. Wei Lingnan suddenly appears. Xia Yingluo is too lazy to argue with them. There are so many stupid and brainless people in the world, how can they care about each other one by one? The only one she cares about is Gu Jingxiu. What happened today was clearly instigated by Gu Jingxiu. This woman doesn't know what kind of grudge she has against her. Why does she always have a conflict with her every time they meet? She held her mother's arm and said dissatisfiedly, didn't Uncle Du say that this banquet is for us to cleanse ourselves from the wind and dust? He clearly knows that we hate the Gu family, but he still lets the Gu family in. It's true. Xiaoling comforted her, Uncle Du also has good intentions. It's not worth destroying the long-term friendship between the two families for a little Gulin. Gu Jingxiu heard her calm voice and said quickly, yes, aunt. Seeing Xiaoling's face darken slightly, she quickly changed her words, Mrs. Li really understands justice. It has been so many years since Aunt Gulin's incident, and she also after receiving the punishment we deserve, our Gu family still hopes to restore old friendship with the Li family. The friendship between the two families is hard-won and should be cherished. Xiaoling said calmly, what a sentence worth cherishing. Gu Jingxiu said carefully, it's rare for Madame and my uncle's family to return to China. Let's visit the Gu family another day. Our family will definitely host a banquet for you. Gu Garden has been renovated, and Sister Yingluo will definitely like it. Xia Yingluo snorted coldly, what? You just wanted to drive her out, and now you become arrogant and respectful when you know her identity. She hates this kind of person the most. Xiaoling patted her hand to signal her to calm down, and asked her husband sideways, "Lilei, what did you say?" Lilei glanced at their mother and daughter with a smile. These two little vixens had clearly made up their mind for a long time, but they wanted him to be the villain. Forget it, who calls him their husband and father? He turned to look at Gu Jingxiu and put on a serious expression. Ever since Gu Lin was imprisoned, this matter has been revealed in my mind for a long time. The reason why it happened now is because both your father and grandfather resented me. Gu Jingxiu, do your father and grandfather know that you are here today? If they are still resentful, all your efforts today will be in vain. Gu Jingxiu was overjoyed and said repeatedly, they all know it. In fact, they have regretted it in their hearts these years. They understand that my aunt is responsible for herself. Uncle Li, if you come to my house as a guest, I guarantee that my father and grandfather will welcome you. She spent a lot of money. It took a lot of strength to convince the stupid father and the willful grandfather to give up their hatred of the Li family. It would be impossible if they didn't give up. The Gu family's business was deteriorating. Without external support, they might not be able to wait until the day when Grandpa closes his eyes. They will be removed from the first-class wealthy portal in the city. Compared with such negative consequences, it is not unacceptable to restore old friendship with the Li family. Li Lei nodded. It's hard for your father and grandfather to be open-minded. It's been very difficult for them these years. When Gu Jingxiu saw the drama, she couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart and said hurriedly, isn't it true? Not only did they worry about the family, but they also often regretted what happened back then. In the past few years, they always said to me, what happened back then, it's the Gu family's fault, and it's their own fault. I miss you, Uncle Li, very much. Li Lei didn't believe a word of what she said. When Mr. Gu was still alive, he loved Li Lei very much and often asked his incompetent descendants to learn from Li Lei. It's okay if Gu Jingxiu's father and grandfather don't know Li Lei very well. Miss you? What about coaxing ghosts? Isn't it just to ask the Li family to help revive the family? Otherwise, why would you pretend to try to rebuild the old relationship? The grudges of the previous generation should not be carried over to the next generation, Li Lei said. Gu Jingxiu couldn't help but be happy. Thank you, Uncle Li, for being willing to forgive the Gu family. Can we be our guests in a few days? Li Lei, who said I have forgiven your family? Gu Jingxiu was stunned. Li Lei said calmly, it's a pity. Originally, I really wanted to forgive your family. Gu Lin's incident has been so long ago that it is no longer worth mentioning. But who told you to offend Yingluo? Yingluo is our family, my baby. I can't even say a harsh word to her mother. When she goes out to practice, her family is worried that she will be bullied outside. It would be better for you to bully her over and over again, and really treat her like she is made from buns. Gu Jingxiu's face turned pale. I didn't know that Sister Yingluo was your daughter. Turning her head, she looked at Xia Yingluo pleadingly. Sister Yingluo, I apologize to you. For the sake of ignorance, you are not guilty. Don't argue with me, okay? Xia Yingluo was very unhappy. Who could she show to her with her pitiful look? Those who didn't know thought it was her, Xia Yingluo, who bullied Gu Jingxiu. Li Lei cut off the conversation and sneered, it's useless for Yingluo to forgive you. As a father, I won't forgive you. As long as I'm here, it's impossible for the Li family to rebuild the old relationship with the Gu family. Gu Jingxiu, please give up. Xia Yingluo looked at her father with admiration. She almost wanted to applaud him. He is domineering and handsome. This is his real father, okay. Compared with her smile, Gu Jingxiu's face was ashen. She didn't expect that her long-term efforts would be destroyed in the hands of a mere Xia Yingluo. Who would have thought that a little-known trainee could have such great energy? Gu Jingxiu wanted to cry but had no tears. Jin Ying on the side looked at her sympathetically. Because she didn't like Xia Yingluo and Jin Ling, she was also aggrieved at Gu Jingxiu's setback. However, in front of the Li family, no one dared to say anything. Anyone who could be blatantly disrespectful to the Li family these days, most likely sooner or later, just disappeared into this world. Perhaps, there is one person who is an exception. In a quiet atmosphere, a man walked up a path shaded by green bamboos not far away. He was wearing clean trousers and a white shirt, holding something in his hand. He was tall, as elegant as some mysterious beast. He walked towards everyone step by step, causing many people to hold their breath. South of Weiling. Xia Yingluo took a small step back. Why is he here? I heard there's a banquet going on here. Wei Lingnan walked up to them, with a hint of smile in his voice. All the celebrities in the city are here, why aren't I the only one invited? His eyes swept over everyone's faces one by one. Paused on Xia Yingluo's face for a moment, and then quickly moved away. Xia Yingluo was a little nervous. This was the first time they had met since they escaped from the underground base. An unexpected encounter. Gu Jingxia was very happy and called out, Lingnan. She took a few steps forward and stood in front of him. Among the crowd, Du Jingjing, who had not spoken for a long time, finally breathed a sigh of relief. As the only representative of the host family present, she did not want to offend either the Li family or the Gu family. Seeing that the two sides were getting more and more tense, at this time, could there be any how nice it would be for a personal presence to lighten the mood. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1264. Chapter 1264. I don't want to kill you that much. Thinking of this, Du Jingjing smiled and asked Wei Lingnan, Sir, welcome to your arrival. Have you asked me your surname? Wei Lingnan, he said briefly. Gu Jingxia finally found some confidence, stood beside him and added with some pride, Lingnan is my fiancé. As he said this, his eyes glanced at Xia Yingluo intentionally or unintentionally. At Pei Yan's engagement party, she had seen the ambiguity between Xia Yingluo and Wei Lingnan. If it hadn't been for that scene that pierced a thorn in her heart, why would she have been at odds with Xia Yingluo several times? At the end of the day, Xia Yingluo is still a licentious person. Gu Jingxia thought bitterly in her heart, and then became vigilant again. At first, she thought that Xia Yingluo was just a poor student who desperately wanted to join a wealthy family. She had seen too many girls like that and was not afraid of them. Even if a man like Wei Lingnan was messing around with women outside, he would not let a poor student entering the house to take the place of the head wife. But now, it's different. Xia Yingluo is actually a super wealthy daughter, even many times more noble than Gu Jingxia. Faced with such an identity, Gu Jingxia felt a mountain of pressure. Intentionally or unintentionally, she leaned closer to Wei Lingnan again. The two people's arms were touching each other, very intimate. Wei Lingnan did not stop Gu Jingxia, and only looked at Xia Yingluo quietly with a pair of eyes as calm as the lake. Xia Yingluo felt an unknown anger rising in her heart. She didn't know what was going on, and she wanted to rush forward and pull Gu Jingxia away from him. But he didn't mind it himself, so why should she meddle in his own business? Humph, he also said that Gu Jingxia was not his fiancée. How could someone who was not his fiancée allow her to be so close? Even when Gu Jingxia announced his identity, he did not deny it in public. The more Xia Yingluo thought about it, the more unhappy she became and turned her face away. Wei Lingnan's narrow and calm eyes flickered, and he suddenly smiled, and said softly to Xia Yingluo, Yingluo, why did you leave without saying hello that day? Do you know that I miss you very much? Xia Yingluo raised her head in shock, even forgetting to hide the surprise in her eyes. What did he just say? Miss her? In front of so many people, even in front of his fiancée. Gu Jingxia was also so shocked that she stood up straight without realizing it, unable to hide the hurt in her tone. Lingnan, she didn't expect that her fiancé would show kindness to the woman she hated the most as soon as he arrived, in front of so many people. Slap her in the face. Other guests had different expressions, especially Du Jingjing and Jin Ying. Their eyes moved between them, speculating on the truth of the situation. Wei Lingnan still ignored Gu Jingxiu and only looked at Xia Yingluo tenderly. Seeing that she couldn't escape, Xia Yingluo had no choice but to bite the bullet and say coldly, "Go away quickly, don't keep pestering me." The man whom Gu Jingxiu regards as a rare treasure is just a trouble that she wants to get rid of. Wei Lingnan's narrow and calm eyes flickered slightly again. Li Lei took a step forward, blocking his view of his daughter. "Wei Lingnan, we meet again." Wei Lingnan looked at Li Lei, with a cold smile on his lips. "What a coincidence, we meet again. Let me think about it, how many years ago was the last time we met? At that time, you were not so annoying as you are now. The last time we met was before Xia Yingluo was born. Xia Ling's fetus was not stable for a while and she had symptoms of threatened abortion. She searched famous doctors all over the world but couldn't do anything. One night when the flowers were blooming, Wei Lingnan appeared quietly and brought them a small bottle of blue liquid. "Drink this, and the child will be safe." At that time, Lei Lei looked at him warily. "Why should I believe you? I am Wei Shaiyin's uncle, so of course I will help his friend." Wei Lingnan explained the reasons one by one. "Besides, Mrs. Li was able to cure infertility because she drank my medicine. I will always make sure that this baby is normal, give birth safely so that the brand of Weishi Biopharmaceuticals is not ruined." Li Lei knew that this man's background was complicated and unfathomable, and he still had doubts about the medicine. Xia Ling said, "There should be no reason for him to harm our child. Besides, if we really can't save it, I'm willing to try his medicine. There is no better way." Li Lei had no choice but to take care of Xia Ling and drink the medicine. A few months later, their daughter Yingluo was born. For a long time, Li Lei was worried about what Wei Lingnan might do next. He protected Yingluo closely and took good care of her, but the man named Wei Lingnan never appeared again. Gradually, Li Lei thought that his worries were unnecessary and relaxed his vigilance. It was not until a few years later that the young Yingluo cried and had nightmares. They were warned by Xia Moyan that there was something unusual about this child, that kind of worry about Wei Lingnan. Only then did he faintly return to the bottom of his heart. Now, something happened, and when they returned home this time, they realized that Wei Lingnan's goal from the beginning when he came to this planet was Yingluo. How can a father called Li Lei endure this? He looked at Wei Lingnan coldly. "The last time we met, I didn't want to kill you so much." The unabashed coldness in his eyes shocked everyone present. This uncompromising leader of the Li family, the largest leader in the Chinese underground world, has had countless lives on his hands. If you want someone to die, you don't even need to think too much. With a word or a look, someone will decide the outcome. Come to him. Du Jingjing felt that the situation was getting out of control and was seriously considering whether to call her uncle or cousin. She didn't want the two parties to cause trouble at her family's banquet and spread the word, and she, the host family present, would not be able to escape the involvement. What grudge does this man named Wei Lingnan have against Li Lei? Du Jingjing was extremely troubled, secretly blaming the security guards for not being strict enough to let in an irrelevant person like Wei Lingnan. As a socialite born and raised in the city, she certainly knew that the Wei family was not a first-class wealthy family, just an ordinary middle-class rich man. In the early years, she heard that Gu Jingxiu had found such a fiancé for her, and she and Jin Ying and other famous ladies secretly laughed at Gu Jingxiu, wondering what had caused her to lose her mind. It turns out that even such a small person who can't squeeze into the upper-class social circle can like him. Now that I see Wei Lingnan in person, he is very handsome, but he is also very troublesome. As soon as he came here, he got into trouble with a big boss like Li Lei, ignored his fiancée, and said to Big Boss Li's daughter, "I miss you so much." No wonder Lilei wanted to kill him and the toad wanted to eat the swan's meat. Does he think that everyone cares about Jinxiu, and just because he is handsome, he can marry him regardless of family status? Wei Lingnan remained calm under Lilei's murderous gaze, and even showed a smile. Save your strength, you can't kill me, we all know it. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1265. Chapter 1265 The Embarrassing Gu Jingxiu. As he spoke, he turned slightly to look at Xiaoling and nodded in greeting very gentlemanly, "Mrs. Li, long time no see. You are still as beautiful as you were many years ago. You are worthy of being a phoenix favored by God." Xiaoling looked at him coldly and said nothing. Wei Lingnan didn't mind the cold reception. He raised the small package in his hand and passed it forward. "I brought you a gift, Mrs. Li. Thank you for your kindness in raising Yingluo over the years." At this point, anyone with a discerning eye can tell that Wei Lingnan is coming for Xia Yingluo's family. As for Gu Jingxiu, this man didn't have her in his eyes from beginning to end. Gu Jingxiu's face was pale, and she obviously felt it. In fact, as long as Wei Lingnan was not ruthless and gave her a little face, he would not show favor to other women in front of her, his fiancée. She was flustered, angry and embarrassed, but she didn't dare to get angry at Wei Lingnan, otherwise who knew what that man would do to cause her more pain with his temper. "Lingnan," she called weakly. Wei Lingnan, however, kept to himself and handed the gift to Xiaoling. Xiaoling looked at him coldly and did not reach out to pick it up. Wei Lingnan's hand stopped half a foot away from her and did not move. The two of them faced off silently. It was Xia Yingluo on the side who first broke the silence. "Wei Lingnan, take your things away, my mother doesn't want it." Wei Lingnan looked at her sideways slightly, and that look made Xia Yingluo feel inexplicably panicked and frightened. Wei Lingnan smiled and asked her softly, "Yingluo, do you hate me so much?" Xia Yingluo didn't know how to answer. Hate? No, it should be hate. This man had done so many excessive things to her, and every time she thought about it, she wanted to cut him into pieces. But besides hatred, there seemed to be something else, she didn't understand. She only knew that whenever he appeared, she would be upset. One hand reached out and took away the gift from Wei Lingnan's hand. It was Lilei, looking at Wei Lingnan with a smile on his face. "Your fiancé is still over there, and our Li family cannot afford your gift. Even if you want to give it, you should give it to Miss Gu Jingxiu. Miss Gu is the one who will gladly accept it." As he said that, he handed the gift to Gu Jingxiu. The atmosphere at the scene was tense and you could hear a pin drop. Du Jingjing and Jinying no longer dared to speak. They wanted to shrink themselves smaller and smaller, trying their best to avoid being burned. Gu Jingxiu, on the other hand, was at a loss when looking at the gift that was suddenly handed to her. She instinctively looked up at her fiancé. However, Wei Lingnan didn't care at all about what happened to the gift. He only stared at Xia Yingluo intently, as if he didn't notice everything happening around him. Anonymous anger arose in Gu Jingxiu's heart. She felt wronged and tormented, and her heart felt like it was being rolled in a pan of oil. Taking a deep breath calmly, and finally controlling her emotions, Gu Jingxiu stretched out her hand to receive the gift from Lilei, turned her head and glanced at Wei Lingnan. She wished Wei Lingnan could look at her, even if he wanted to blame her for accepting the gift. But Wei Lingnan still turned a blind eye to her, and only Xia Yingluo was the only one in his heart. She was so disappointed that she wanted to throw all the heavy gifts in Xia Yingluo's face. Perhaps sensing her anger, Xia Yingluo turned to look at her, her clear eyes reflecting the sun, her emotions indistinguishable. Gu Jingxiu looked back coldly and couldn't help but sarcastically said, "Why, you gave me a gift, does Miss Xia feel bad?" Since Lilei had promised not to repair the relationship with the Gu family, then Gu Jingxiu did not have to flatter Xia Yingluo. What's more, there is Wei Lingnan standing between them, and they have old and new hatreds, and they must fight to the death. But Xia Yingluo has no interest in fighting. She glanced at Gu Jingxiu indifferently and said softly to Xiaoling, "Mom, I'm tired, let's go in." She felt so stupid that she would let someone like Wei Lingnan affect her mood. She already felt uncomfortable as soon as Gu Jingxiu said fiancé, but Wei Lingnan didn't explain a word, which made her more and more worried. Uncomfortable. This displeasure reached its peak when Li Lei intercepted the gift that was supposed to be given to Xiaoling and gave it to Gu Jingxiu, but Wei Lingnan remained indifferent. What was the gift specially given to her mother? What do you say about missing her? It's all fake. In fact, he doesn't care at all, right? At this thought, Xia Yingluo's spirits waned and she never wanted to look at him again. She had no interest in getting involved in the matter between this man named Wei and his fiancée. Xiaoling glanced at her daughter distressedly and took her hand. "Let's go in with Mom to drink tea. Master Yamaguchi, Ling you guys also come in together. You must be tired after standing outside for so long." Master Yamaguchi in Gabu clothes smiled slightly, and followed them into the quiet hall together with Jin Ling. Li Lei gave Wei Lingnan a warning look and followed his wife and daughter in. The door was closed tightly. Wei Lingnan was left standing on the path shaded by vegetation, with an unpredictable expression. Gu Jingxiu looked at him carefully. "Lingnan." It was only this time that he seemed to hear her call. He lowered his head and glanced at the gift in her hand. "Since you accepted it, let's use it." He didn't say a word more. Just like when he came, it soon disappeared at the end of the trail. Gu Jingxiu looked at his back reluctantly, with mixed feelings in her heart. Du Jingjing and Jin Ying looked at each other, both feeling that the incident just now was extremely embarrassing. Gu Jingxiu's fiancé used gifts to please another woman in front of her, but they refused to accept them and threw them to her like garbage, but she regarded them as treasures. Du Jingjing and Jin Ying both felt that if this kind of thing happened to them, how could they endure it? I really don't know what Gu Jingxiu's vision is. She fell in love with such a ruthless man and was still happy with it? Faintly, they looked down on Gu Jingxiu. Gu Jingxiu was thoughtful and knew what they were thinking just by looking at their faces. She forced a smile and explained, "Lingnan has business dealings with the Li family. Knowing that the Li family has returned to China, it is normal to bring some gifts to exchange greetings." This explanation was so pale that even she couldn't bear to listen to it. However, a wealthy family wants to save face, so even if it's just a gloss, it must be smoothed over. Of course, Du Jingjing and Jin Ying didn't believe it. If it was really a normal way to pray with worshippers, why wouldn't the Li family accept it? So stiff? However, on the surface, of course they will not expose Gu Jingxiu. There are too many secrets in wealthy families that are not open to outsiders. As long as everyone can keep their face, no one will delve into it. I didn't expect your fiancé to have business dealings with the Li family. That's awesome. Du Jingjing laughed. Jin Ying also gave a perfunctory awesome. Neither of them asked what kind of business it was, but instead tacitly opened up the topic. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1266. Chapter 1266. Wei Lingnan blocks the car. Looking at their looks, Gu Jingxiu knew that they didn't believe it, and felt aggrieved and angry, but she sneered secretly and said nothing more. Two frogs in a well, you have no idea how powerful the Wei family is. The only behemoths in the world like the Li family can compete with them, right? Gu Jingxiu remembered the conversation that her great-grandfather had called her to the bedside before he died. "Oh Jingxiu, neither your grandfather nor your father are of any use. The responsibility for reviving the family will fall on you in the future. You must try your best to restore the relationship between our family and the Li family. If it cannot be restored, then find a way to get on the line with the Wei family. Yes, it is the family behind Tianyi. Producer Wei Shaiyan. I heard Li Lei mention it once, saying that the Wei family is in the biochemical weapons business and has dealings with many major countries in the world. It's not just a small biopharmaceutical company as it seems on the surface. Jingxiu, if you can make good friends with the Wei family, even the Li family will not dare to touch you easily. Our Gu family will count on you in the future. Grandpa spoke a lot to her before he died and told her many unknown secrets. Among them, the most important one was the information about the Wei family. That's why Gu Jingxia worked so hard to get close to the Wei family and wanted to marry Wei Lingnan. Marrying such a behemoth was a very good deal. How can those ignorant idiots understand? For the goal of marrying into the Wei family, it is worth enduring even the temporary humiliation. Gu Jingxia lowered his head and looked at the small package in his hand. He didn't know what Wei Lingnan originally planned to give to Xiaoling. No matter what it was, she would use it instead of Xiaoling. Not only would she use it, but she would also use it well, and she would also let Wei Lingnan know that she was using it cherished and well. As time goes by, Wei Lingnan will one day feel pity for her. In this love sea war, she must win. Over there, in the quiet hall, Xia Yingluo chatted with the elders, absent-mindedly, and soon she excused herself because she was tired and left with Jin Ling. The two girls walked slowly along the wooden boardwalk in the back garden of Jingtang. The early autumn afternoon wind blew the ends of their skirts and hair, looking like two beautiful elves. Jin Ling held Xia Yingluo's hand and asked with some worry, "Yingluo, are you okay? You have been depressed since Wei Lingnan came here just now. You also misunderstood Master Yamaguchi's questions several times. Is there something wrong? What's on your mind?" Xia Yingluo shook her head and said softly, "I'm fine." Jin Ling didn't believe it. "You think you're okay? Your soul is gone. Oh, by the way, I haven't asked you yet. Did Wei Lingnan arrest you and lock you up last time you disappeared? Why didn't you call the police? What's going on?" Xia Yingluo didn't say anything after she returned from her last disappearance, and the impact of her identity was so great that Jin Ling almost forgot to ask. Xia Yingluo couldn't help but wailed, stopped, and turned around to look at Jin Ling. "Ling, Sister Ling, Aunt Ling, can't you just leave me alone for a while? I'm going to be disturbed by all the bad things that happened recently. I'm so annoyed, especially Wei Lingnan. He's such a beast. Don't mention him in front of me all the time." Even so, I unexpectedly thought of that man again, with his tall figure and clean white shirt, standing among the flowers and trees. The greenery is not stained by dust, how can it look like a perverted beast? She shook her head vigorously, trying hard not to think about him. Jin Ling asked, "Yingluo, tell me the truth, have you fallen in love with him?" Xia Yingluo was so frightened that she almost jumped up and reflexively said, "No." "Oh dash," Jin Ling protracted and circled around her, "really or not? I've never seen any man who can arouse such great emotions in you. I think Wei Lingnan risked his life for you. When you meet your parents, you just obey him, right? Don't worry about Gu Jingxiu, just go and grab him if you like him. They are not married, aren't they just an unmarried couple?" Xia Yingluo couldn't laugh or cry. It turned out that Jin Ling thought she was worried about this. "They are not an unmarried couple," she told Jin Ling. "Wei Lingnan told me personally that Gu Jingxiu appointed himself as his fiancé, and they never held a ceremony. Wei Lingnan was trying to give her face, not exposing her in public to make her unable to get married. It's just a stage." "Huh? Is that so?" Jin Linger's eyes widened, and she had a new understanding of Gu Jingxiu's shamelessness. "However, what exactly is Yingluo worried about? Wei Lingnan is not good to you?" she asked, So you don't like him? But, I think he is very good to you. He helped you with your scholarship and gave you a card. Last time you were about to die in the dance class. It hurts to death. He also taught those who watched indifferently, if he kidnapped you and locked you up, it was because of love and hatred. You, don't look at me like this. Of course I don't agree with what he did, but didn't you notice? What did you find? Xia Yingluo asked. Jin Linger tilted her head, your father and your mother. Although your father and your mother did not give him a good look, they did not hate him. This is not like the attitude towards a pervert who kidnapped his own daughter. Yingluo, it's more like, testing the future son-in-law. That last sentence became increasingly quiet under Xia Yingluo's murderous eyes. Xia Yingluo glared at her hard, and said word by word through her teeth, no, accurate, in front of me, in front of, mention, him. Okay, I won't mention it. Jin Linger quickly stopped talking. Xia Yingluo sighed and continued walking forward listlessly. Jin Linger was right. Her parents' attitude towards Wei Lingnan could not be said to be that bad. It was as if they expected that Wei Lingnan would not really hurt her. Really, is she their biological daughter? How could any parent be so kind to a kidnapper? Woohoo, that kidnapper is still an alien. What if someone impatient cuts her into pieces for study? She drooped her head and pulled Jin Linger out of the banquet venue melancholy and got into the car. Instruct the driver to return to the training camp. Jin Linger saw that she was tired, so she didn't bother her and sat quietly with her in the back seat of the car. The silver-gray private car drove smoothly. After driving for more than 10 kilometers, it suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Xia Yingluo woke up from her fugue and asked the driver. The driver said, Miss, there is someone in front of you. Through the car window, this time, Xia Yingluo and Jin Linger also saw it. On the path in early autumn, sycamore leaves are intertwined. A man in a white shirt stood in the crowd, with one hand in his trouser pocket, looking calmly at their car. His eyes were as calm and unruffled as lake water, but they seemed to be able to see directly into people's hearts, accurately looking into Xia Yingluo's eyes through the one-way glass. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1267. Chapter 1267 Special Lip Gloss. Xia Yingluo's breathing became a little tight. Jin Linger has already shouted, isn't that Wei Lingnan? Why is he here? Drive. Xia Yingluo said, she didn't want to have anything to do with Wei Lingnan anymore. The driver tried to start the vehicle several times and then said in embarrassment, Miss, no, I can't go around. Xia Yingluo was a little angry, Uncle Lu, you are the best driver in our family, why can't you avoid anyone? There was sweat on the driver's forehead, his speed is so fast that it's almost inhuman. Xia Yingluo. Well, she shouldn't lose her temper at the driver. Wei Lingnan is not a human at all. How can he ask ordinary humans to defeat him? I'll go down and take a look, she said resignedly. Jin Linger was a little worried, don't go, Yingluo, didn't you say he kidnapped you? At the banquet just now, your parents didn't give him face in public. What if he comes for revenge? Although just half an hour ago, she had teased Xia Yingluo for falling in love with Wei Lingnan. However, when such a dangerous man really crossed paths with them, she was more worried about Xia Yingluo's safety. Xia Yingluo patted her hand reassuringly, I'm fine. If he really wants to take action, it doesn't make any difference whether I sit in this car or not. What can protect her is not the car weapons, but the guards. A certain consensus reached between Lingnan and the Li and Xia families. Although Xia Yingluo didn't know what her parents and uncle had discussed with Wei Lingnan probably wouldn't take her back easily due to the subtle checks and balances between the two parties. Jin Linger was still worried, Yingluo, don't go. Xia Yingluo gave her a smile, it's really okay. I'm just outside the car and won't go far. After saying that, he opened the car door and jumped out of the car lightly, walking towards Wei Lingnan. The man was still standing in the early autumn breeze, the sun was shining, and scattered sycamore leaves fell on his hair and shoulders. His long and straight body casts a slanting shadow on the narrow one-way street, slightly twisted, like some kind of mysterious scroll. He looked at Xia Yingluo calmly. I knew you would come down. Xia Yingluo was furious. Why is this person so shameless? Mr. Wei, you have blocked the whole road. Can't I come down and ask you to condescend and step aside? You should be lucky that my driver is driving today. If I were driving myself. Xia Yingluo said this, he laughed coldly. I promise to run over you directly. Are you willing to give it up? He asked softly. Xia Yingluo suddenly choked, and after a few seconds, she said, why am I reluctant to part with you? The scene at today's banquet came to mind again. Gu Jingxiu stood close to him and declared, this is my fiancé. Xia Yingluo became irritable again and her voice became colder, get out of the way. Wei Lingnan stood there without moving, his voice still soft, like coaxing a child, it's obviously you who didn't let your family accept my gift. Why, you're not happy if I give it to someone else? I'm not unhappy, she glared at him angrily. Wei Lingnan smiled slightly and followed her. Okay, you're not unhappy. He thrust a beautifully wrapped small box into her hand. What is this? She was stunned for a moment. Open it and take a look, Wei Lingnan said. That small box is very beautiful, dotted with tiny bits of golden light, and it shines brightly in your hand. Xia Yingluo thought about it and felt that even if Wei Lingnan wanted to kill her, he would not resort to such troublesome means, so she opened the small box. In the box, there are several grids of powdery and paste-like objects in very beautiful colors, molded into shapes such as small stars, shells, and flowers. The warm autumn sun shines slantingly on it, adding a touch of gorgeous dreaminess. Girls all like beautiful things, and Xia Yingluo is no exception. Looking at the small box of items in her hand, her heart is filled with joy and admiration. It's eyeshadow, blush, and lip gloss, Wei Lingnan said. I specially chose the color that suits you best. Xia Yingluo came back to her senses and looked up at him. Why did you give me this? Wei Lingnan smiled. Just now at the banquet, you looked unhappy after Gu Jingxiu took the gift. I guess you probably wanted this. Was his intention in not deliberately clearing up his relationship with Gu Jingxiu at the banquet? I want to see if Luo, who deliberately planned to escape from his base, really doesn't care about him at all. Fortunately, the result didn't disappoint him. She was jealous. Wei Lingnan's smile became softer. The one for Gu Jingxiu, it was originally given to your mother. Although it uses good raw materials, it is still not as good as the one you have now. Aluo, the things I give you are the best. Unique in the world. Xia Yingluo's heartbeat accelerated a little, but she still turned her head arrogantly. I don't care. Wei Lingnan lowered his head and picked out a bright red color from the small box she was holding. He held her head with one hand and spread the bright red bit by bit on her lips with the other hand. She opened her eyes slightly and looked at him with some fright. His calm eyes were very close, and her panicked shadow was reflected in his pupils. Their bodies were so close that their breathing could be heard. She opened her mouth slightly, and felt her lips were tingling, as if they were being lightly teased by a feather. After a long time, I heard him say, "Okay." The warmth on his body was farther away from hers. She straightened up slightly and looked at her work with satisfaction. Her lips, which were originally as moist as petals, were dyed with a moving color, and the color was delicious. That was about it? Aluo, he called her softly. Her name lingers on the lips and teeth, it is the most touching love words in the world. Xia Yingluo stared at him blankly, unable to say a single bad word or say a word. Dazedly, she didn't know how she got into the car, so she opened the door and sat back in her seat. Jin Linger couldn't wait to ask, "How are you, Yingluo. Did he bully you? I just saw him in the car. What did he put on your lips? Let me beat you. Halfway through the words, I suddenly exclaimed, oh my god, it looks so beautiful. This is the most beautiful lip gloss I have ever seen. Xia Yingluo felt that something was wrong with the whole world. Just now Wei Lingnan stopped the car so persistently just to apply lip gloss on her and leave. But where was Jin Ling'er? Her good friend who originally cared so much about her suddenly forgot to care about her after seeing that lip gloss. It's really beautiful, Jin Ling'er was still screaming. She took out her own mirror from her bag and handed it to Xia Yingluo. Look at it quickly. Isn't it super beautiful? Oh my god, only the hand of God is there. Such a color comes from your talent. Yingluo, do you feel that you have become more beautiful and beautiful? I didn't think so at first. When she said this, it seemed like that was really the case. Yingying is on a short trip from the 27th to the 29th and cannot schedule it, so there will be 2 updates every day for these 3 days. At 12 noon and 20 p.m. the 2200 hours update will be temporarily cancelled. 3 updates will be resumed from the 30th, right, clatter. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1268. Chapter 1268. The sudden appearance of Zhao Yuxuan. Xia Yingluo looked at herself in the mirror in fascination. The bright color on her lips was like the declaration left by the man, so flamboyant and heart-pounding. She felt like she was really going crazy. Jin Ling'er was still chirping in her ear, Yingluo, did Wei Lingnan tell you where to buy this lip gloss? I want to buy it too. You like it? I'll give it to you, Xia Yingluo said weakly. Jin Ling'er shook her head. A gentleman doesn't take away from others' favor. It was obviously given to you by Wei Lingnan. The color suits you so well, so just keep it and make good use of it. Xia Yingluo lowered her eyes. I don't need his things then, she said, give me a tissue. Jin Ling'er didn't know why, so he handed her a tissue. She wiped the color off her lips bit by bit, crumpled the tissue into a ball, and threw it into the small car trash can. Jin Ling'er looked at her actions. Yingluo, do you hate Wei Lingnan that much? Her lips were slightly warm from the wiping just now. She was quiet for a moment before saying, it's impossible between me and him. It wasn't because of her fiancé, but because there was another person between them, a Luo. Wei Lingnan loved a Luo from Scatana, not Xia Yingluo, a living human being. So what if she falls in love with him? It was just a one-sided fall. She had seen too many girls fall into the pain of unrequited love. It was too desolate. She would never allow herself to fall into that situation. He stretched out his fingers and touched his lips gently, and the scene on the path just now brushed away in his heart like a feather. The car drove all the way back to the training camp. Xia Yingluo continued her daily life, taking classes and practicing dance, which was no different from the past. As for the fact that she was the daughter of the Xia family, she did not deliberately conceal it, nor did she deliberately publicize it. The level of the training camp was still far away from the upper-class society, and there was no information. For a while, no one discovered her identity. On this day, Xia Yingluo practiced dancing as usual. There are a few people scattered in the dance classroom, including Zhang Bilian, Zuzu and others. Nowadays, these people no longer dare to mess with her. Although they don't know her identity, they know that she is the person Li Rui protects. Even if they look down on her behavior of being a patron of her financial lord, they don't dare to show it on their faces. They stood far away from her, occupying another corner of the dance studio, and practiced dancing separately. Suddenly, the door of the dance studio was pushed open. A well-dressed and elegant man appeared at the door of the classroom, looked around, and then walked across most of the classroom towards Xia Yingluo. Following his pace, many trainees stopped practicing one after another to look at him, and those brave enough to say hello with a smile, "Hello, Mr. Zhao." The person who came was none other than Zhao Yuxuan. He is the emperor's popular manager and is very popular among the trainees. Almost all the trainees want to be supported by him when they debut and become artists led by him. After finally getting the chance to see him in person, how could they not fawn over him? However, Zhao Yuxuan's face was not very good looking, and he ignored the people around him and only walked to Xia Yingluo step by step. Xia Yingluo is still practicing her dance by herself. Her posture is graceful and light, which makes people enchanted. What was more eye-catching than her dancing was her arrogance, as if there was no one around her, as if the Zhao Yuxuan in front of her didn't exist at all. And Zhao Yuxuan stood quietly in front of her, neither speaking nor moving. He even looked a bit frightened, not daring to disturb her dance practice. Other trainees looked at each other, wondering what was going on. Manager Zhao, who was unattainable in their eyes, was cautious about this girl. Didn't they break up? Moreover, it was Manager Zhao who dumped Xia Yingluo first, so how could this happen now? Among the crowd, Zhang Bilian frowned slightly, feeling that Xia Yingluo had become mysterious since she returned from a disappearance, as if something was different. She turned sideways without leaving a trace and said to Zuzu, who was standing next to her, "What's going on?" Zuzu is a girl who loves gossip and has always been well informed, but this time she was at a loss. "I don't know what happened." Could it be that Zhao Yuxuan found out that Xia Yingluo is his true love and came to find her to get back together? Zhang Bilian said disdainfully, "How is it possible? Xia Yingluo's private life is so chaotic, how can Zhao Yuxuan still like her?" As soon as he finished speaking, Xia Yingluo stopped her dance practice and took a white towel to wipe the fine beads of sweat on her forehead. After a moment, he put down the towel, pushed aside the crowd and walked out without even looking at Zhao Yuxuan. "Yingluo," Zhao Yuxuan quickly stopped her. Xia Yingluo seemed to have discovered his presence at this moment. "What are you doing here?" Her tone was obviously impatient. The surrounding trainees took a breath. How did she talk to the emperor's most popular manager? Did you know that someone could just stick out a little finger and crush her to death? Or is it that she has become arrogant since she fell in love with Li Rui, and even ignored the emperor's big manager? Li Rui is rich and powerful, but he is also very carefree. He has only returned to China for a few days, and there are endless gossips about him. No one believes that he can be with any girl for a long time. Under such circumstances, Xia Yingluo actually thinks that with Li Rui, she can be arrogant. Is she too naive? Zhang Bilian's eyes flashed with vague schadenfreude, hoping that Zhao Yuxuan could teach her a lesson and help her get rid of the bad breath in her heart for a long time. But what shocked everyone and Zhang Bilian was that instead of teaching Xia Yingluo a lesson, Zhao Yuxuan became even more humble. "Yingluo, let me see you. I know you are angry with me, but this is all a misunderstanding. You stop making trouble and let's live a good life, okay?" The surrounding trainees gasped again. What on earth did Manager Zhao do? Why did his attitude towards Xia Yingluo suddenly change 180 degrees? In their minds, even if they wanted to reunite, it was Xia Yingluo who had to beg Zhao Yuxuan. What qualifications did she have to beg Zhao Yuxuan? But Zhao Yuxuan not only begged, but also begged in public, turning a blind eye to the various looks around him, and only looked at Xia Yingluo. "Yingluo, I know you still love me, let the past go. I am now he's back and he's still your boyfriend." Xia Yingluo was so angry that he left. She had known that Zhao Yuxuan was shameless, but she didn't expect that this man was so shameless. Why did she still love him? Even if she is blind, she will never fall in love with this again. "Zhao Yuxuan, don't take yourself too seriously," she said coldly to Zhao Yuxuan. "I'm tired of looking at trash like you. Get away as far as you can." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1269. Chapter 1269. A different kind of beauty. Zhao Yuxuan's face changed slightly when he heard her insults. He is a big manager, and he has never been humiliated like this, in front of so many trainees. For a moment, I just felt that my face was gone, and I almost wanted to curse him back on the spot. However, when he thought about the purpose of coming here today, he suppressed his anger and said gently to Xia Yingluo, "I have 2 concert tickets here. Can I take you to the concert tonight? You are not. Have you always wanted to go with me?" Xia Yingluo narrowed her eyes slightly and looked at him. She felt that he was unusually attentive. He had already abandoned her like a shoe, so why did his attitude suddenly change 180 degrees? She couldn't help but ask, "Zhao Yuxuan, have you taken the medicine or not? If you don't live a good life with your Pei Yan, why are you messing around? Have you watched too many idol dramas about the prodigal son?" Zhao Yuxuan seemed to have expected this question from her, with a look of regret on his gentle and fair face. "Yingluo, I was deceived by that Pei Yan. She said many bad things about you and deceived me. I broke up with you later. I left her immediately and came back to find you. Don't worry, I will treat you well and never let you suffer any injustice again." Xia Yingluo frowned slightly, feeling that something was wrong. During this period of time, she had not thought about the relationship between Zhao Yuxuan, herself and Pei Yan. She analyzed it calmly and found that Zhao Yuxuan did not necessarily love Pei Yan very much, nor was he necessarily deceived by Pei Yan. It was just because of Pei Yan's good family background and status. Noble, so I chose Pei Yan. As for what kind of person Pei Yan is, it doesn't matter to Zhao Yuxuan at all. How could such a cold-blooded man have such a conscience and realize that the prodigal son turned back? There is only one possibility for the so-called prodigal son to turn back, and that is that he finds that the possible benefits from Xia Yingluo are far greater than those from Pei Yan. After thinking about this, Xia Yingluo didn't even bother to sneer at him. She was about to bypass him and forcefully leave when she heard a clear voice from the crowd, "Zhao Yuxuan, stop telling lies with your eyes open. Didn't you just find out that Yingluo is Li Lei's only daughter, so you attacked her again? Are you interested?" Xia Yingluo turned around and saw that Jin Linger had arrived at the dance studio at some point. She stood aside from the crowd and glared at Zhao Yuxuan. "It's disgusting that you are so snobbish." Xia Yingluo sighed helplessly. She knew that Jin Linger had long wanted to announce her identity to the world, be proud of her, and want to see those who had bullied her get slapped in the face. But she also told Jin Linger that she just wanted to live a quiet life and asked Jin Linger not to show off. Jin Linger endured it for a long time, and finally took advantage of Zhao Yuxuan's opportunity, but couldn't help but expose her identity. Once she finished scolding Zhao Yuxuan, Jin Linger looked at Xia Yingluo cautiously and smiled flatteringly. She was afraid that Xia Yingluo would be angry because such big news broke without Xia Yingluo's consent. But she just couldn't get angry. Yingluo's status was obviously so noble, why should she let these people trample on her? After laughing, Xia Yingluo didn't say anything, but the crowd of onlookers had already exploded. What? Just now Jin Linger said that Xia Yingluo is Li Lei's only daughter. Could it be that I was hallucinating? Someone was shocked. You don't seem to be hearing hallucinations, another person said incoherently. Because of me, I seem to be hearing hallucinations too. Everyone looked at each other, and after an uneasy silence, someone asked cautiously, which Li Lei is it? Who else? Jin Linger looked at them with a sneer. Yingluo, she is the daughter of Tianyi's big boss Li Lei. You used to bully her for being a poor student, and she has a bad temper and doesn't care about you, but now, look at you. Why bully her? Everyone looked at each other in disbelief, unable to believe that this was true. Who knew that overnight, the poor classmates who were so familiar to them would turn into super white, rich, and beautiful students? It was so dreamy and exciting. The ones who are particularly unacceptable are Zuzu and Zhang Bilian. In their impression, Xia Yingluo should be stepped on and trampled on. Now, this humble poor student has turned around. Not only that, he is also much more noble than them. How can they accept this? Zhang Bilian's expression changed again and again, and she said to Jin Ling, "You can't lie about this kind of thing." Jin Ling sneered, "It's up to you whether you believe it or not." Zhang Bilian looked at Xia Yingluo and saw that this girl was wearing a pure white dance dress, with long crow-green hair rolled up, and her face was as soft and smooth as delicate blooming petals. She is so beautiful. Although I have always known that Xia Yingluo is beautiful, it is still a little different when I look at her after learning her identity. The original coquettishness and lowliness became bright and noble, and the original rudeness and unbridledness became the pride that matched the status of a rich young lady. The more Zhang Bilian looked at her, the more she felt that this girl was unfathomable, and she couldn't help but believe in her identity. Xia Yingluo was impatient with her scrutiny and said to Jin Ling, "Let's go." Jin Ling glared at everyone fiercely, and then glared at Zhao Yuxuan several times before planning to follow Xia Yingluo out. The crowd made a way for them. Everyone knew what the identity of the rich lady meant. It meant that Xia Yingluo and them were in two different worlds from now on. She could be arrogant, willful, and treat anyone casually. The only way they can go is to follow her lead. The trainees have mixed emotions, including envy and jealousy. Seeing that they were really leaving, Zhao Yuxuan became anxious and said, "Yingluo, I really don't want to get back together with you because of your status. I really love you." Xia Yingluo felt a little sad. Look, Zhao Yuxuan really knew her identity. When Jin Ling revealed her identity, everyone was surprised, except Zhao Yuxuan, who looked calm and obviously prepared. When he saw that she had no money and no power, he tried every means to abandon her. Once he found out that she was the daughter of a super wealthy family and abandoned his fiancée, how could such a scumbag still think that she would change his mind? With anger brewing in her heart, Xia Yingluo said to Zhao Yuxuan, "Why on earth do you think I will still like you? I know you still love me." Zhao Yuxuan looked at her affectionately, "Yingluo, you are such a potential trainee, all you need is an agent who can make you famous, and I am that person. Your parents will also be happy to see me protecting you and taking care of you." Xia Yingluo was almost sickened by his words. Her parents. Her father, Li Lei, would have been doomed if he hadn't been shot dead. Smiling in anger, Xia Yingluo suddenly wanted to see where his lower limit was, so she said, "Even if I want to be with you, you are already Pei Yan's fiancé." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1270. Chapter 1270 Zhang Bilian Surrender. Zhao Yuxuan's eyes lit up when he saw something was going on. He quickly said to Xia Yingluo, "My engagement with Pei Yan is only temporary. Yingluo, as long as you agree to be with me, I will immediately terminate the engagement with her." Xia Yingluo was stunned. She didn't expect that Zhao Yuxuan could be so shameless. It turned out that he had not terminated his engagement with Pei Yan, and his intention was clearly to be in two different places. If he rejected him, he could still return to Pei Yan's side. For a moment, Xia Yingluo actually sympathized with Pei Yan. She endured her nausea and continued to ask Zhao Yuxuan, "You and I are not the same family, so why do I want to be with you? Do you think every girl is Pei Yan?" Zhao Yuxuan said affectionately, "Yingluo, from a family like yours, you don't have to care about money at all. Of course, you need to find someone who loves you. I love you so much, and I will definitely take good care of you in the future. I will be happy with you after I get married. I can help you take care of your family property and run the entertainment industry, so you won't have to worry about it. This time, not only Xia Yingluo was stunned, but also Jin Linger and several trainees were stunned. They didn't expect that Zhao Yuxuan would have no lower limit. Not only did he want to marry a famous lady like Xia Yingluo, but he even planned his life after marriage. To put it nicely, he would help Xia Yingluo manage his property. To put it badly, it was not just a loan. Can Xia Yingluo's property be legitimately divided up in the name of marriage? The most humble person is invincible. This saying really makes sense. Xia Yingluo smiled, looked at Zhao Yuxuan, and asked slowly, "Do you still remember what you said to me when I went to the casino to find you when we broke up?" Zhao Yuxuan looked embarrassed. Xia Yingluo said, "Back then, you said that I was just a poor student who tried everything possible to get into the emperor's exam. How delusional were you to think that you would like me? You also said that I saw you were the emperor's favorite. Only outstanding agents come here. Do you still remember these words?" Zhao Yuxuan looked even more embarrassed. "Yingluo, please listen to my explanation." Xia Yingluo interrupted him with a sneer, "Zhao Yuxuan, now I return these words to you intact. You are just a small agent of the emperor. How delusional are you to think that I will fall in love with you? You came here just because you saw that I was Li Lei's daughter. How shameless." Zhao Yuxuan's face turned blue and white. He didn't expect Xia Yingluo to become so sharp. Where did the girl with the innocent smile who was chasing behind him go? He suddenly felt very regretful. When such a good opportunity was placed in front of him, he did not cherish the golden pie that fell from the sky. Now that he lost it, he realized that it was so difficult to get Xia Yingluo. If he hadn't dumped Xia Yingluo out of temporary greed and instead been with Pei Yan, would everything be different today? He is Xia Yingluo's future husband and the son-in-law of the Li family. He will gain both fame and wealth in his life, and he will have no worries about food and clothing. Zhao Yuxuan felt extremely remorseful. His heart was bleeding when he realized what he had lost. He stood there with his lips pursed, unable to say a complete sentence. Xia Yingluo never looked at him again, took Jin Linger's hand and said, "Linger, let's go." Out of the dance studio, the sun is shining brightly outside. Jin Linger suddenly laughed, "Yingluo, did you know that you looked so majestic just now? Look at Zhao Yuxuan's face, he is so angry, and the faces of those who are watching, ha ha ha, it is so relieved." Xia Yingluo's expression was a little sad. The words she just said were very relieving, but they were the flowers of blood and tears that bloomed from the scars that had cut out her heart with one knife. Things and people have changed now. Jin Linger noticed that she was depressed and comforted her, "Don't think so much. Who didn't meet a few scumbags when they were young and ignorant? It's a good thing to get rid of them as soon as possible. You should be glad that there is no big loss." Xia Yingluo forced a smile and suddenly thought of a question, how could Zhao Yuxuan know my identity? Jin Linger was also surprised, who on earth would tell him, Pei Yan? Xia Yingluo frowned, maybe, there is no better explanation. But how did Pei Yan know? When they attended the banquet at the Du family, the Du family knew that Li Lei and the Pei family were particularly unruly, and they would not dare to invite the Pei family even if they were killed. It can only be said that the news spread very quickly in the upper-class society. In just a few days, everyone probably knew about it. She sighed, feeling that her life would probably not be peaceful in the future. Jin Linger didn't think as much as she thought. She stretched out towards the sun and said, "It's good now, Yingluo, they all know your identity. Who dares to bully you in the future?" Speaking of this, Xia Yingluo glared at her gently, "You still couldn't help but reveal my identity." Jin Linger laughed, "Having such a good family background but hiding it is like walking at night in fine clothes. What's the point? If you tell me as soon as possible, there will be fewer flies flying around your ears." Just wait, they just changed the way they fly. Xia Yingluo smiled bitterly, very experienced, no matter what time, there will always be flies around. She is right. After that day, people in the training camp had a different attitude towards Xia Yingluo. From looking down on him at the beginning, he later changed to saying don't touch the river, and now he is smiling, respectful, and even enthusiastic. Especially Zhang Bilian, who wanted to repair the relationship with Xia Yingluo. On this day, she made a lot of snacks and brought them to Xia Yingluo. She said with a smile, Yingluo, everything in the past was all my fault. Don't take it to heart. These are snacks I made by myself. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. She has always been gentle and elegant, and the snacks she makes are stylish and look like they are there. Xia Yingluo is a naughty person. She is used to eating the world's top meals made by her father, and her own cooking skills are also very good. She doesn't look down on Zhang Bilian's snacks at all. However, my father once said that he should be merciful and merciful. If he makes too many enemies, he will eventually be defeated by others. If you don't believe it, just look at your mother's past life and you will know. Thinking of her mother's negative teaching material, Xia Yingluo decisively decided to forgive Zhang Bilian. She smiled slightly and said, I accepted the snacks. Let bygones be bygones, we will all still be classmates from now on. Zhang Bilian couldn't help being happy and thanked her repeatedly, praising her for her elegant temperament and magnanimity, and that she was worthy of being a famous lady. Xia Yingluo laughed secretly in her heart. Why couldn't Zhang Bilian see that she was elegant and generous when her identity was not exposed? In the final analysis, it's just this moment and that moment. If one day she falls into despair, she has no doubt that Zhang Bilian will step on her hard, or even get worse. End of this chapter.